The human colony world of Nero was calm that morning. Traders filled the market, children ran in the open streets, and workers moved to their posts. People did not expect anything unusual. But the sky suddenly turned dark when a shadow passed across the city. At first, the people thought it was a storm. Then they saw wings larger than ships, moving slowly and with great effort. The shadow was not a storm. It was a dragon. The dragon was enormous, covered in scales darker than night, and each flap of its wings shook the air. Its eyes glowed like fire, and smoke left its mouth with every breath. No one in the city had ever seen such a creature before. They all froze in fear. Some hid behind walls, others ran indoors, and soldiers quickly prepared their weapons. At the center of the dragon's back was a platform of silver metal, and standing there was a tall figure. She wore a long cloak of blue and gold, her crown shining with strange light. Her face was calm but heavy with worry. She was Reyna, queen of the alien kingdom Ziril. Her people ruled many worlds, and her presence alone carried power. Yet, that day, she did not look powerful. She looked desperate. The dragon, Raku, was not flying with full strength. Its wings moved slowly, and its body tilted to one side. When it landed outside the human city, the ground shook. Dust rose high, and buildings trembled. The soldiers raised their weapons, but no attack came. Instead, the dragon let out a deep cry, full of pain. The queen raised her hand to silence the people. Her voice carried across the city, strong but strained. "My dragon is wounded. I seek help." Her words shocked everyone. People looked at each other in disbelief. A dragon of such size, feared across the galaxy, asking for help here on a simple human world? It seemed impossible. The alien healers who traveled with her stepped forward first. They examined the dragon but quickly shook their heads. One whispered, "The wound carries death energy. No healer can touch it without harm." Another added, "If we try, the curse will spread. We must leave it." The queen's face tightened. She looked down at Raku, whose scales near the chest glowed faintly, as if burning from within. The wound was not from claws or teeth but from something far worse. Humans in the crowd whispered with fear. "That beast is too dangerous. It will destroy us once healed. Better to let it die." The soldiers lowered their weapons but did not move closer. No one wished to stand near the dragon. Reyna's eyes swept across the crowd. "Is there no one with courage? My dragon has guarded worlds. It has carried me through battles that saved nations. And now, when it needs healing, every hand refuses." No voice answered. The silence grew heavier than the shadow of the dragon itself. In that moment, a single man stepped out from the edge of the crowd. He was not a soldier, not a leader, but a simple doctor named Arun. He was known in the city for treating farmers, children, and workers with the same kindness. He carried no weapon, only a small bag of tools. His clothes were plain, his face calm. Arun walked forward, ignoring the murmurs behind him. Some called him foolish. Others begged him to stop. But he kept walking until he stood before the queen and the dragon. He looked up at the towering beast, then at the wound glowing like fire. "I am a healer," he said softly, but his voice was steady. "If no one will help, I will try." The queen's eyes narrowed with surprise. "You? A human doctor of a small colony? Do you understand the danger?" Arun nodded. "I understand. But a life is still a life. If no one tries, then the dragon will die in pain. I cannot watch that happen." The crowd gasped. No one expected a human to step forward when even alien healers refused. The soldiers exchanged uneasy glances. The queen studied him for a long moment, as if searching for weakness in his eyes. But she found only calm courage. Finally, she spoke. "Very well, human. But know this: if you fail, the curse may take you. Still, I will not stop you, for your heart is stronger than the fear of many. She stepped aside, and the ground seemed to grow quieter. All eyes turned to Arun. The dragon's great head lowered, its golden eye watching him closely. Smoke left its nostrils, yet it did not strike. Instead, it let out a sound like a deep sigh, almost as if it understood. Arun placed his hand gently near the dragon's wound. The heat burned against his skin, but he did not pull away. He felt the strange energy, heavy and sharp, but his body did not fall. Behind him, the people watched in silence. For the first time, the impossible was happening. The queen whispered under her breath, though her voice carried a trace of hope. Perhaps this human is not ordinary. And so began the story of a man who dared to treat the wounded dragon when everyone else refused. The people of Nira still stood in silence as Arun touched the dragon's side. None of them could believe their eyes. The beast that once shook the ground with its steps was now calm under the hand of a simple human doctor. The dragon's golden eye stayed fixed on him. Smoke rose from its nostrils, but the growl in its throat was not of anger. It was pain mixed with trust. Arun's hand trembled from the heat of the wound, yet he kept it steady. The queen, Reyna, watched closely. Her long cloak moved with the wind, and her crown reflected the faint light from the wound. She had seen countless battles, countless warriors, but never before had she seen a human stand before a dragon without fear. "Do you truly wish to try?" Reyna asked at last. Her voice was softer now, no longer full of command but of doubt and hidden hope. Arun looked at her. "Yes. I do not promise success. But I promise I will not leave the dragon in pain without trying." Reyna's eyes held his for a moment. She studied his calm face, his steady eyes. Then she gave a small nod, something rare from a queen. She turned to the crowd and raised her voice. "Hear me, people of Nira. My dragon is wounded by a weapon not of this age. This wound is not only of flesh but of energy. It eats life. No healer of my kingdom dared to touch it. Yet this human dares. If he succeeds, remember this day. If he fails, remember also that he had the courage you did not." The people lowered their heads. Her words stung, but none could deny the truth. Reyna then looked back at Arun. Her voice became low again, almost like a whisper, though every word carried weight. "You must understand, doctor. This is no ordinary wound. It was made by a weapon of the ancient star clans. Long ago, those clans used crystals filled with void energy. When they struck, the wound would never close. The energy eats the spirit of the living. That is why my healers refused. Even their strongest shields break against it." Arun listened carefully. He had never heard of such things. To him, wounds were of the body, broken bones, fever, infection. But this was something far beyond. Still, he did not step back. "Life is still life," he said gently. "If the energy eats it, then I will try to find a way to stop it." The queen was silent. For the first time in many years, she felt something stir inside her chest. Was it hope? Or disbelief? She could not tell. The dragon let out a low rumble, almost as if agreeing with the human. Its massive body shifted, and it lowered itself slightly, pressing its chest closer to the ground so Arun could reach the wound more easily. The soldiers gasped. Never before had the dragon lowered itself for anyone other than the queen. Arun opened his small bag of tools. He had simple things: a scanner to check body heat, herbs he collected for fevers, a device to clean blood, and cloths for wrapping. None of these were made for dragons, but he had no choice. He looked at the glowing wound, and carefully touched the skin near it. It burned hot, yet his hand did not blister. The queen narrowed her eyes. "Strange. My healers could not touch it without harm. But your skin does not break." Arun frowned in thought. Maybe the energy does not react the same to humans. Maybe it is something in us. Reyna gave a small breath, almost like a sigh. Then perhaps fate brought me here. Arun worked slowly. He placed a cloth near the wound to soak the strange glowing liquid that leaked out. He used a small device to scan deeper. The reading showed sharp crystal pieces lodged inside. Each one pulsed with light like tiny stars. He looked up at the queen. These crystals must come out. If they stay inside, the wound will never heal. Her face grew tense. That is what I feared. The ancient star clans used crystal shards to curse their enemies. Once the shard entered the body, it could not be removed without danger. The beast could die from the attempt. Arun stayed calm. If they stay inside, the dragon will die anyway. If we try, there is at least a chance. The queen studied him again. In her heart, she felt the weight of centuries. She had led armies, commanded worlds, and faced enemies without fear. Yet here, beside her dragon, she felt powerless. Only this human spoke with certainty. She closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them with new strength. Very well. Do what you can. I will not stop you. The dragon shifted again, resting its head on the ground. Its golden eye blinked slowly, as if placing its trust in the small figure standing near its chest. Arun took a deep breath and prepared his tools. Around him, the people watched in silence, their fear mixing with curiosity. Could a simple human doctor really heal what the greatest alien healers had refused? The queen placed her hand gently on the dragon's neck and whispered, though not to anyone else. Hold on, my friend. Perhaps this human is the light we never expected. And with that, the real healing began. The air around the wounded dragon was heavy, filled with heat and strange energy. The people of Nira stood at a safe distance, whispering among themselves. None could believe what they were seeing. The mighty dragon Raku, feared across stars, lay on the ground with its chest glowing, and a human doctor was preparing to touch the wound no one else dared to approach. Arun's hand moved slowly as he leaned closer. The heat from the wound felt like fire on his skin, but still he did not pull back. He placed his palm just above the glowing mark, not directly on it, testing how close he could go. The energy vibrated in the air like a storm waiting to strike. Reyna, the queen, watched with narrowed eyes. She expected the human to fall back in fear or collapse from the strange power. Yet Arun stayed steady, his breathing calm. The dragon's golden eye followed him closely, glowing brighter with each passing second. Finally, Arun let his hand touch the edge of the wound. The moment he did, a wave of pressure shot out like a sudden wind. The people gasped. Soldiers raised their weapons in alarm, thinking the dragon might lash out. But instead, the beast remained still. The pressure hit Arun, but he did not fall. His body shook, his knees bent, yet his hands stayed firm on the dragon's scales. The burning sensation ran through his arm, but strangely, it did not harm him. It was as if his body could carry the strange energy without breaking. The queen whispered under her breath. Impossible. Even my strongest healers fainted when they touched it. But he still stands. Arun did not hear her. He was focused only on the wound. He pulled out a small light device from his bag, using it to see deeper into the cracks of the scales. What he saw made his heart tighten. Sharp crystal shards were buried inside, pulsing with light, as if alive. Each shard spread the burning energy through the dragon's veins. He looked up at the queen. The shards are deep. I must remove them, one by one. Reyna's face grew tense. It is dangerous. If you touch them wrongly, the energy could spread through you. Arun nodded. I know. But leaving them inside is more dangerous. The dragon gave a low growl, but it was not of anger. It was a sound of pain mixed with understanding. Slowly, it lowered its great head until its snout touched the ground. The golden eye blinked once, slowly, as if giving the human permission. The crowd gasped again. No one had ever seen the dragon show such trust to a stranger. The queen herself was shocked, though she did not let it show fully on her face. Arun reached into his bag and pulled out a thin tool shaped like small tongs. He pressed it gently against the glowing wound, guiding it toward the first shard. His hand shook slightly, but he kept his eyes fixed on the task. The shard pulsed brighter as he touched it. A wave of heat surged out, making the ground tremble. Soldiers took a step forward in alarm, but Reyna raised her hand. "Do not move. If you interfere, you will break his focus." Arun gritted his teeth, steadying his hand. The shard resisted, as if it was alive, clinging to the flesh of the dragon. Carefully, slowly, he pulled. His hand burned, sweat dripped from his forehead, but he did not stop. Finally, with a sharp spark of light, the shard came free. The dragon let out a loud roar that shook the skies. The people screamed and covered their ears, fearing it was an attack. But Reyna's eyes widened. She recognized the sound. It was not anger, it was relief. The shard fell into Arun's tool, glowing faintly. He placed it carefully inside a thick container from his bag, sealing it away. The light inside the container dimmed as if trapped. Arun turned back to the wound. The glow had lessened slightly, but other shards still pulsed deep inside. He looked at the queen again. "There are more. I must continue." Reyna nodded slowly. Her voice was quiet but filled with awe. "You have done what no healer of my people could. Perhaps your kind holds a strength we never understood." The people in the crowd began to whisper differently now. Fear still filled their voices, but so did wonder. Some even lowered their heads in respect, realizing that a simple human was standing where none else dared. Arun wiped his forehead, his hand trembling from the effort, but his eyes stayed firm. He leaned forward again, ready for the next shard. The dragon's golden eye blinked once more, watching him closely, trusting him fully now. Reyna stood tall beside her dragon, her cloak moving with the wind. Yet inside, her heart felt strangely moved. For years, she had looked at humans as small, fragile beings. But this single doctor was proving that strength was not always in size or weapons, but in courage and will. The queen spoke softly, almost to herself. "Perhaps this human is not only a healer. Perhaps he is the answer I did not expect." The night began to fall, stars shining above the city of Nira. The dragon lay still, the human doctor worked with steady hands, and the queen stood guard. The people who once hid in fear now watched with eyes wide open. Something was changing before them, something greater than fear. And so, with the first shard removed and the dragon's trust gained, a new bond began to form between human, dragon, and queen. The night deepened over the human colony of Nira. Stars glittered in the wide sky, but all eyes were fixed on the ground where the dragon lay. The glowing wound still burned across its chest, and the human doctor Arun worked carefully, his hands steady despite the weight of the task. The queen, Reyna, stood beside him, her sharp eyes watching every move. Arun leaned closer with his small light device, shining it deep into the dragon's wound. The glow from within was brighter now that he had removed the first shard. He saw at least 3 more buried inside, each pulsing with strange light. They looked less like stone and more like pieces of starfire trapped in crystal. He whispered, almost to himself. "It is as if the stars themselves were broken and placed inside." The queen heard him and slowly nodded. Her voice carried quiet strength. "That is the mark of the ancient star clans. Long ago, they forged weapons with crystals stolen from dying suns. They believed the energy of a star could burn the life of any creature it touched. When the weapon struck, shards of that energy crystal broke off and buried themselves inside the wound. Few survived such attacks." Arun frowned but did not stop working. He used his tool again, pressing it gently toward the second shard. "If that is true, then your dragon has faced something no ordinary enemy could wield. Reyna's eyes grew heavy with memory. Yes. My dragon fought a shadow ship that came from deep space, a ship I thought was a rumor. Its weapons shone with this cursed light. We defeated it, but not without cost. Raku saved me, yet it carried this wound ever since. None of my healers could face it. They all feared the curse would spread. Arun did not lift his eyes, but his words were calm. Fear stops the hands from moving. If the hand does not move, healing cannot begin. The queen looked at him in silence, struck by the simple truth of his words. She had lived with warriors who spoke of strategy, power, and honor, but rarely had she heard words so plain and strong. The shard pulsed angrily as Arun touched it with his tool. A wave of heat rushed out, throwing sparks into the air. The ground shook, and the people gasped. The soldiers raised their weapons again, but Reyna's hand kept them still. Arun's face tightened, sweat rolling down his temple. His tool slipped for a moment, but he steadied it quickly. The shard seemed alive, as if resisting him. Slowly, carefully, he pulled. His arms trembled from the heat, but his eyes stayed fixed on the glowing crystal. Finally, with a sharp crack, the shard broke free. Light exploded from it, shooting into the sky like a thin beam before fading into the stars. The people gasped, some even falling to their knees, thinking the heavens themselves had answered. The dragon let out a long roar, but this time the sound was softer, more like a cry of release than of pain. Its massive body trembled, then grew calmer. Its golden eye blinked slowly, showing gratitude. Arun placed the shard into his container. He looked at the queen. That is two. There are still more inside. Reyna studied the shard glowing faintly in the sealed box. Her voice was low. You are right, human. This weapon was not only meant to kill. It was meant to send fear through all who saw it. But you hold it in your hand as if it were nothing more than a broken stone. Arun gave a small smile. Stone or star, it is only an obstacle. Once removed, the body can heal. The queen turned away for a moment, her cloak shifting with the night wind. She looked at her dragon and then at the human kneeling beside it. Something stirred deep in her heart, an unfamiliar feeling she could not name. The people in the crowd began to whisper again, but this time not in fear. The human doctor is stronger than the alien healers. Perhaps he will save the dragon. Maybe humans are not as weak as we thought. Their voices carried across the night, spreading new thoughts into the air. Arun prepared for the third shard. He placed his hand on the dragon's scales, calming it with a gentle touch. The great beast rumbled softly, closing its eye halfway, as if trusting him completely. Arun leaned forward again, shining his light. This shard was deeper, buried close to the dragon's beating heart. The glow of it mixed with the rhythm of the dragon's life, pulsing in time with every breath. Arun felt a weight press against him, heavier than before. He whispered to himself, steadying his breath. If I pull too fast, the heart may fail. If I pull too slow, the shard may sink deeper. I must move with care. Reyna stepped closer. Do you need help? Arun shook his head slightly. Only silence. The dragon trusts me. I must not break that trust. The queen nodded and raised her hand. The crowd grew quiet at once, as if the stars themselves had hushed the world. Arun's tool reached the shard. His hand shook, not from fear but from the strength it demanded. Slowly, carefully, he pulled. The shard resisted, pulsing with brighter light. Arun's arm trembled, but he did not stop. His face showed strain, yet his eyes stayed calm. Finally, the shard slid free with a burst of light. The dragon roared again, but the sound shook less with pain and more with relief. Arun placed the shard into his container, breathing hard. He looked at Reyna. One more. Then the wound may close. The queen's voice was quiet, almost like a whisper of the stars. "Human, you carry more courage than many kings I have known." And as the night went on, the secret of the wound became clear: not only the cursed shards of the ancient clans, but also the strength of a human who dared to face them when all others turned away. The first shards were removed, but the dragon's wound was far from healed. Raku, though calmer now, still trembled from pain. Its golden eye followed Arun with careful attention. The human doctor's hands were tired, but his focus never wavered. He knew the final challenge would be the hardest. Arun looked at the last shard, buried deeper than the others, close to the dragon's chest where its heart beat. The glow of the wound pulsed in rhythm with Raku's life, stronger than ever. Each pulse sent a wave of heat and energy toward Arun, making the air shimmer. The queen, Reyna, stood near him, watching with concern and awe. Her cloak rustled in the night wind. She had seen countless healers fail, yet this human was calm in the face of danger. Her heart beat fast, not from fear for herself, but for the dragon she loved. "Be careful," she said softly. "If you touch it wrong, the shard may strike you." Arun nodded. "I know. I must move slowly and carefully. I will not harm the dragon." He began preparing his tools. Simple cloths, a small device for scanning, and the tongs-like instrument he had used before. He also placed cooling herbs nearby to reduce the heat from the wound. The energy of the shard was unlike anything he had felt before, but his mind stayed steady. The crowd watched from a distance. Some of them had hidden behind walls at first, but now they were silent, entranced by the strange scene. Humans and aliens alike could not look away. For once, fear had been replaced by wonder. Arun knelt beside Raku, speaking softly. "I am here. Trust me. We will finish this together." The dragon rumbled low, the sound vibrating through the ground. It shifted slightly, lowering its chest so Arun could reach the shard more easily. Arun placed his hand gently on its scales, letting the warmth and strength of the dragon's trust flow into him. He carefully guided the tool toward the shard. It pulsed violently, resisting every touch. Arun held his breath, letting his mind be calm and precise. Slowly, he pulled, adjusting his angle, feeling the energy flow against him. His arms shook, and sweat rolled down his forehead, but he did not let go. The shard began to loosen. Light flared from it, brighter than before. The dragon growled, not in anger, but warning him that the energy was strong. Arun whispered encouragement, holding the shard steady. "Almost there," he said quietly. "Just a little more." The queen held her breath. She had never spoken so softly in her life. She had commanded armies, faced countless enemies, and conquered worlds, yet now she felt helpless. A single human was performing a task that even her greatest healers had refused. With one final, careful motion, Arun pulled the shard free. It sparked and glowed, casting strange shadows on the ground. The dragon roared loudly, but it was no longer the roar of pain, it was the roar of relief. Its golden eye softened, and it lowered its massive head to touch Arun's shoulder. The people gasped. No human had ever been allowed such a close gesture from the deadliest dragon in the galaxy. Soldiers whispered in awe. The queen's own lips curved into a small, proud smile. Arun placed the shard into the container, sealing it carefully. He wiped sweat from his face, his hands shaking, but a quiet smile formed on his lips. He looked at the dragon. "You did well," he said gently. "It is over. You are safe now." Raku shifted, letting out another rumble, then slowly closed its eyes. Arun leaned back and allowed himself a small breath of relief. The night was quiet again, but it carried a new energy, one of triumph and trust. The queen stepped closer and spoke, her voice steady but full of respect. "Human, you have done what none of my healers could. You faced the energy of the ancient star clans and removed it. You have my gratitude and my admiration. Arun shook his head. I did only what I must. The dragon's life is more important than fear or glory. The queen looked at him, realizing that courage could come from the simplest of hearts. She thought of all her warriors and healers who had refused. None had shown such patience and will. This human had done more than anyone could imagine. Around them, the people of Nero began to whisper again. Their fear was gone, replaced by respect and hope. Perhaps humans are stronger than we thought. A simple doctor can do what the greatest healers could not. Courage is not measured by size or strength, but by the heart. Arun prepared to finish the final step, gently placing cooling wraps over the wound. He let the natural energy of the dragon flow through his hands. Slowly, the glow faded, replaced by warm, steady light. The wound was closing, the pain easing. The dragon's golden eye opened fully, looking at Arun with trust and gratitude. The queen stepped forward, her hand resting lightly on the dragon's neck. She spoke softly, almost to herself. Perhaps we have underestimated the human race for too long. For the first time in history, a bond was visible between human, dragon, and queen. One of respect, trust, and courage. The trial of healing was complete, but the world would remember this night forever. Arun stood slowly, brushing his hands. He looked at Raku, then at the queen, then at the people who had watched in awe. He felt no pride, only quiet satisfaction. Life had been saved, and in doing so, something extraordinary had been born. The first light of morning crept over the human city of Nera. Stars faded into the bright sky, and the streets slowly filled with people once again. Yet everyone's eyes remained on the center of the city, where the massive dragon Raku rested. Its chest no longer glowed with pain, and its breathing was steady. Arun, the human doctor, knelt beside the great creature, checking its condition carefully. Reyna, the queen, stood a few steps behind him. Her eyes followed every movement, not with fear, but with wonder. She had expected the dragon to remain distant, even after healing. Instead, it now stayed close to Arun, its massive head almost touching him as he worked. The soldiers and citizens who had once feared Raku now whispered in awe, realizing that something extraordinary had happened. Arun carefully examined the dragon's scales. The last shards had been removed, and the wound was finally closing. He placed a soft cloth over the area and massaged gently, allowing the dragon to feel relief and comfort. The golden eye of Raku never left him, filled with a strange light: recognition, gratitude, and trust all in one. Reyna stepped closer, her voice quiet but firm. No human has ever been allowed this close. Even my most loyal allies were refused. Yet your hands touch my dragon without harm. Arun looked up. Trust is not given lightly, and Raku has allowed it. It is not only skill, but patience and care. The queen's face softened. For centuries, she had commanded dragons, warriors, and worlds. Yet this moment made her see humans differently. Their courage was quiet but strong. Their patience was unmatched. And their hearts, small as they seemed, held great strength. Raku shifted slightly, moving its massive head closer to Arun's shoulder. The golden eye blinked slowly, as if acknowledging him personally. Arun's hand rested gently on the dragon's neck. He did not speak. Words were not needed. The bond was visible in the way the dragon lowered itself, the way it allowed its chest to be touched, and the calm that radiated from it. The citizens of Nero whispered among themselves. It has chosen him. The human is not afraid. The dragon trusts him completely. Fear was gone, replaced by awe and wonder. The queen's voice was soft now, almost a whisper. I have led armies, faced enemies, and healed dragons with my people's best healers. None have succeeded like this. The courage and patience of one human, this is shocking indeed. Arun's hands were steady. He gently stroked the dragon's scales along its neck. The beast rumbled low, a sound of calm and relief. Its eyes glimmered, golden light reflecting the early sun. Then it did something unexpected. With careful precision, Raku lowered its massive head until its snout rested on Arun's shoulder. The people gasped. The soldiers who had trained all their lives stared, unable to believe what they were seeing. The queen herself froze, her eyes wide. No human had ever been honored in such a way by a dragon of this magnitude. This was more than trust. This was recognition. The dragon had chosen him. Arun's face reflected quiet humility. He did not pull away. He placed both hands gently on the dragon's snout, speaking softly. "You are safe now. No one will harm you." Raku made a soft, low sound that vibrated through the ground. The people around them felt it, a sound of relief and gratitude. They had never known that dragons could show emotion so clearly. The queen finally spoke, her voice carrying across the crowd. "This moment is not just healing. It is a bond between human and dragon. It is a moment history will remember." Arun looked at Reyna. "I did not expect this. I only wanted to help." Reyna smiled faintly, her pride and amazement clear. Sometimes, courage is not for glory. Sometimes, it is simply to do what is right. You have shown a strength beyond what any of my people believed possible. The dragon, still resting its head on Arun, slowly lifted one massive claw and gently touched the human's arm. Arun smiled faintly, understanding the gesture. This was more than trust. This was respect. A dragon's respect. The citizens of Nero were silent for a moment, taking in the sight. Then soft whispers began, spreading through the streets. "Humans are stronger than we believed. One person can change history. Courage comes from the heart, not size or power." Reyna turned to her guards and healers. "See this. Even the greatest warriors can learn from those who seem small. Today, a human has changed the bond between our worlds." Arun finally stepped back slightly, but Raku's head remained close. The dragon followed him with its golden eyes, acknowledging him as a protector and friend. The queen watched, moved by the connection. She realized that humans, who were often overlooked, carried strength that could rival the greatest beings in the galaxy. For the first time, the people witnessed something extraordinary. Not just healing, but a bond that crossed species, cultures, and expectations. A dragon's roar, once feared across worlds, now carried quiet reverence for a human. The queen's voice was filled with awe. "Let all who see this know sometimes the smallest hands hold the greatest power. Sometimes, courage comes quietly, and yet it changes everything." Arun looked at Raku, then at Reyna. "I did only what I could. The rest came from trust." And in that quiet moment, under the rising sun, the shocking truth became clear. A bond had formed, one no one had expected. The dragon had chosen a human. The human had earned the respect of a queen. And the galaxy would never see such a connection again. The sun rose higher over the city of Nera, casting golden light across the streets and buildings. The people gathered around the square, still whispering about the miracle they had witnessed. Arun, the human doctor, stood beside the massive dragon Raku, who now lay peacefully, fully healed. The golden eye of the dragon followed him with quiet attention, a bond visible to all who watched. Reyna, the queen, stood tall beside them, her cloak fluttering lightly in the morning breeze. Her eyes shone with pride, not only for the dragon but for the courage of a human she had never expected to impress. She cleared her throat, drawing the attention of the crowd. "People of Nera, and all who watch from afar," she began, her voice strong and clear, "today we have witnessed something remarkable. A human has healed my dragon, Raku, when every healer in my kingdom refused. More than that, he has earned the trust and respect of a creature feared across worlds. This courage is rare. It is a reminder that strength is not measured by size, power, or rank, but by heart, patience, and will. The crowd erupted into quiet applause, murmurs of wonder and respect spreading like wildfire. The soldiers lowered their weapons, humbled by the bravery they had seen. Citizens, once afraid of the dragon, now felt a deep sense of awe and gratitude. Arun shook his head humbly. I did only what I could. Raku was in pain, and life deserves care. I did not seek praise or recognition. I simply acted with what I had in my heart. The queen smiled, recognizing his humility as another sign of true strength. She turned her gaze toward Raku. The dragon's golden eye met hers, and she spoke softly. You have fought many battles, Raku, and today you have learned that trust can come from unexpected places. Remember this bond. The dragon gave a low rumble, as if acknowledging her words. Then it slowly turned its massive head back to Arun, pressing its snout lightly against his shoulder in a gesture of respect. The crowd gasped. This was a connection none had expected, a dragon and a human, sharing a moment of mutual trust and understanding. Reyna addressed the people once more. Let this day be remembered. Humans are not weak. They are capable of courage and compassion beyond measure. We, as leaders and warriors, must learn to see beyond appearances. Strength comes in many forms, and today, we have learned that lesson well. Arun smiled faintly, feeling the weight of her words but remaining quiet. He knew he had acted out of care, not to prove himself. Yet the impact of his actions was clear. A dragon had been healed, a queen had been surprised, and a people had gained a new understanding of humanity. The citizens of Nira slowly approached the dragon, some offering soft words, others simply standing in awe. Raku remained calm, its trust in Arun unbroken. The human touched the dragon gently, feeling warmth and gratitude flow through its massive body. The queen turned to Arun. You have changed history today. Not only for my dragon, but for all of us. You have shown that courage and kindness can overcome fear, even when others refuse to act. I cannot repay you, but know that your name will be remembered in our stories and songs. Arun shook his head. I need no reward. The life saved is reward enough. Reyna studied him carefully. Perhaps that is why you are so strong. You act not for recognition, but because it is right. That is a rare gift, human. Raku shifted, lifting its great head and looking around the square. Its golden eye met the people, and they could feel its calm energy. Fear had vanished. Awe and respect had replaced it. For the first time, humans and dragons were truly connected in trust. Arun gently patted the dragon's scales, and Raku responded with a low rumble. The queen stepped closer, placing her hand lightly on the dragon's neck. From this day, we will remember that courage can come in any form, and that even the smallest hand can guide the greatest being. You have given us a lesson none will forget. The people of Nira slowly began to cheer, a mix of wonder and celebration. Soldiers lowered their weapons, and merchants smiled with relief. Even the children, who had once run in fear, now approached the edge of the square to see the dragon. Arun looked at the queen and the dragon. He knew his actions had created something extraordinary. He had not only healed a creature feared by all, but he had also built a bridge of trust between species. He had shown that compassion and courage could overcome even the deadliest of fears. Reyna spoke quietly to the dragon. Raku, this human has proven himself worthy of your respect. Let him walk beside us as an ally, not just a healer. The dragon rumbled low, as if agreeing. Arun nodded, feeling a warmth in his heart. He realized that this bond was more than a moment, it was the beginning of a new path. Humans and aliens, dragons and people, could work together in ways no one had imagined. As the sun rose higher, casting golden light across the city, Arun stood tall beside Raku. The queen placed her hand on his shoulder and said softly, Today, a human has changed the future. Never forget that courage is found where hearts are brave, and strength is measured by kindness. The crowd watched silently, understanding that this day would be remembered for generations. The dragon, healed and calm, had chosen a human. The human, humble and steady, had earned the respect of a queen. Together, they had changed the world. And so, a new era began, one of trust, courage and unexpected bonds. A human, a dragon, and a queen had shown that even in the darkest moments, hope and bravery could shine brighter than any fear.